So making cultures inclusive, it's you take the same approach as you would with any business endeavor. You need to be very clear around your why. So start there. What is your why? What is the reason why you want to be inclusive? And we all know that it leads to business success, it leads to innovation, it leads to positive impacts on the bottom line. So have that clarity around your why. What is the why for your business? I always advise organizations to link it to your organizational purpose as well. So if your organizational purpose is something to do with, putting good out there in the world, clearly inclusion speaks to that. If your purpose is around being the best in your industry, being the best in your industry means having the best talent. Having the best talent leads itself beautifully to inclusion. So make sure that that story is very clear. There's that very clear link, and make it meaningful in your organization. So I would definitely say start there. Once you've started there, it's about ensuring that everything you do, your processes, your procedures, your practices, your policies, your culture, your behaviors, the way you reward speaks to and delivers and aligns to that mission, that purpose, and that why you've developed as your why around being an inclusive culture. Yes, so when it comes to there not being talent in the industry or in the market, this is one that we've heard quite a lot. And a famous CEO, we shan't mention the person or the organization, said this, didn't they, not too long ago. Now, my view on that is that the talent is there. The talent is there. It always has been there. What organizations need to do with their recruitment partners and also through their recruitment teams is to do things differently. If you're trying the same approaches you always have done, you're going to get the same results. If you want different results, if you want wider results, if you want wider talent pools, you've got to look wider, you've got to look differently. There are so many associations that cater for less represented talent. There are many recruitment firms that are now doing a lot of work to focus on engaging less represented talent. There are many groups and networking groups that also do the same. So just look wider. I think a quick Google search, a very quick narrow search will show you there are so many different ways of getting that different talent. I would also, an example that I'll use is I was working with a recruitment firm or a search agency, which I think is the right term, isn't it? A search agency. And one of the leaders in that team actually believed that there wasn't talent. And they actually said to me, we've struggled, we've never found any Black talent, and they recruit in HR. And I said to them, look, I work in HR. I've worked in HR for a number of years. I have been very successful in senior roles. I have never heard of your agency. I've had so many headhunters, so many people speak to me about different roles over the years, but never have I heard of your agency, your recruitment firm. So I think if you find yourself thinking we've tried and we haven't found any, challenge yourself again, because the talent is there. You just need to go look for it. You just need to work in a different way and find the talent. Then it's about the next step, which is about how does the talent get retained and treated once it joins the organization. So retaining diverse talent is, I guess the aim of any organization. Once you spend all that time and energy bringing people into your organization, you want to understand how to retain them. And what I'll say to all leaders around inclusion and also retaining diverse talent is that it's what you would do, all the things we already know to be true. Inclusion, being really inclusive, an inclusive leader is just great leadership. Retaining talent, diverse talent, no matter what they look like, feel like, where they've come from, is just good people practices. So it's all the things we know to be true. Clarity on role, clarity on mission and purpose, listening and hearing, giving that employee voice, employee opportunity to feedback, share ideas. It is reward recognition. So it really isn't rocket science, to be honest with you. It's really not something different to what we already know to be true. What organizations need to be clear on and what organizations need to focus on is ensuring that they do that in a way that leads to equal outcomes for all. So look at your data, understand your data. How are your people feeling? And then break that down into less represented groups. How are they feeling? Are there gaps in terms of engagement, in terms of their perception of having voice? Address those by speaking to them. Are there gaps in terms of promotions, in terms of who gets the great projects, in terms of who gets to speak to the exec and present to the board and showcase who they are? If there are gaps, plug those gaps. when it looks like, when you look at things such as sponsorship and mentorship, who's being mentored, who's being sponsored, is there an equality of outcome in terms of what's happening there? If there isn't, plug those gaps. So it's just about that. It's not rocket science. It's exactly what you know to be right when it comes to managing your people. What you just need to do is to check the outcomes for different groups across your organization, and then work with external partners, work with your internal teams to plug those gaps. So again, as we know with any business endeavor, leaders are absolutely vital and paramount to how successful anything is in an organization. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, my first suggestion for leaders is to take stock and to think about what inclusion means to them. You know, even before we consider the business, even before we consider how they lead that within their organization, what does inclusion mean to them? Most of us, if we think about our values, if we think about what matters to us, if we think about, you know, our purpose in the world, if we think that way, most of us will agree that we have values around equity, justice, fairness, whatever the word is that we use around that, you know, doing the right thing, being fair to people. Those are inclusion values, and it's really important for leaders to actually connect that to who they are and who they want to be as an individual, then apply that to the organizational frame, and understanding that, you know, how do I become an inclusive leader? How am I fair to everyone? How do I give everyone equal chances? But I would definitely say start with yourself, start with you, because inclusion does start with you, and anything you do really starts with you and what meaning you give to it. So connect with inclusion at a values level, but at a personal values level, then take that into the business. Yes, so overcoming the fear, especially for leaders, really good question. So in my coaching, I do quite a bit of executive coaching, come across a lot of leaders who happen to be white males of a certain age who've done really well in their career. And when you discuss inclusion, there is a real reticence for them to engage in it. And that comes from fear. Fear of potentially being seen as sexist or racist or homophobic if they express what they're thinking. And there's also this piece around feeling as though inclusion is a conversation about everybody who is not them. The conversation is about women, the conversation is about people of color, the conversation is about people in the LGBTQI community, people with disabilities, so everyone who is not them. So there's also reticence around, actually, it's not about me. Should I be talking about this? You know, do I have the qualifications or the right to talk about this? And what I will say in terms of my response is that inclusion is about absolutely everybody. It's about everyone. It is about women. It is about people of color. It is about people with disabilities, the LGBT community, everybody. It is also about the white man as well. And a recent study was done by Mind Gym, and it looked at organizations that were exclusive, so not inclusive. And they found that a large proportion of people felt like they had to cover and couldn't be who they are at work and had to hide certain elements of who they are. They also found that 45% of white men also felt like they couldn't be themselves. So where an organization is exclusive to people who are who are less represented, it is also exclusive to people who are represented. So inclusion is about absolutely everybody. And then the second piece around engaging in the conversation and potentially feeling like you don't have the right to speak about it, or feeling as though you may get it wrong or you may upset someone. The answer to that is that you probably will get it wrong, and you probably will at some points in time make mistakes. We all do. We all do. These are complex issues. These are individual issues. They're different for different people, aren't they? So you probably will make some errors and some mistakes. What I would suggest, though, is you still go ahead and you have the conversations and you learn. Do some research first. You know, Google's your friend, your HR team is your friend. You know, you can work with consultants, whatever you need to do. You know, do some preliminary work to understand some of the language and to understand some of the challenges maybe, but definitely go into the conversations. And if you need them to be facilitated for you, that's absolutely fine. But the worst thing I would suggest that you can do is to say nothing. The worst thing that you can do is to do nothing, because firstly, you stay in ignorance because you don't learn. The world moves on and you're still in where you are, so you become less and less and less aware about what the conversations are. That's the first thing. And then secondly, your people think you don't care. Your teams think you don't care about them, their experiences, and you don't care about making your organization inclusive. So definitely the worst thing you can do is to not say anything. So please do speak up, do engage in the conversations, do some pre-work first so you don't go in completely blind, but you are going to make mistakes. That is part of the process. So just go ahead and dive in.